We have done up to this portion, you know. Uh, we have learned about all the various services of AWS. We will continue with the Amazon VPC. For those who have not attended the last two sessions, please, I will request them to access the website, our site, and get hold of those recording. We will start with VPC over there. So, Amazon virtual private cloud, Amazon VPC, if you have gone through the structure of the age and how globally AWS will distribute its data centers, so you will find that VPC being the a very important contributor or the network element for AWS to create that particular, I mean, to get into that particular region. So a region uh, will be starting with a VPC, and VPC will be complemented with the subnets. The subnets are for the data centers, and those data centers are basically you come down through the VPC, you get into the VPC of a region for each of those, the entry point to any region, whether it's Mumbai or Ohio or Virginia, you will enter through this VPC over the edge location, and through that VPC, you will end up with the subnets. Subnets will take you to the data centers where your AWS resources will be hosted. Whether you say EC2 or load balancer or your S3 buckets, whatever it is there, it will be there hosted. Okay. So VPCs can communicate with each other across accounts, availability zones, AWS regions. So basically, are you being able to see the screen, or shall I make it full screen?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we can.
visible.
Okay, great. Now, is it more visible?
Yes, it's visible. So
So you see, you get into that region and you can use the VPC through the subnet in the availability zone. So you have the availability zones. You have the availability zones. So you are entering into the cloud. Say this is a particular region, say Ohio. Ohio. So you are getting it from somewhere. Okay, you are getting inside it, and you are getting to be validated over the VPC of Ohio. Okay, and this Ohio will be divided into several availability zones. So maybe 6 availability zones will be there. 6 availability zones. So these availability zones are nothing but your availability zone of that particular region. So is AZ1, A, 1B, 1C, and up to whatever, A, B, C, D, E, F. A, B, C, D, E, F. Yeah. So on this is the subnet or the data center. So subnet is your a networking element within the VPC. So there will be one default VPC each region. Okay, one default. And therefore, how many default subnets will be there for that region? Let's say for Ohio, I'm taking an example of Ohio. So for each availability zone, there will be one default subnet. So how many subnets will be there for defining the entire region of Ohio?
6.
6, definitely. 6 default. Now the question is, can you create your additional VPCs, your own private VPC that you want to do for your organization? as well as definitely you will go for subnets. Can you do that? Yes. You can define your own VPC and your own architecture of your network dedicated to your organization, maybe. Okay. So, but these are the default. This is default for your account. You can anytime use them without changing it. Do not remove the default VPCs or the subnets, because then your network becomes very unstable. So even if you are creating your own VPC and your subnets, but do not tamper with this default architecture. This diagram shows one possible configuration where within region 1, network traffic is shared between a VPC in the availability zone 1 and a VPC in availability zone 2. Okay. The same architecture is shown for. So between these two regions, you can share your resources. You have to communicate between these two VPCs. So you could have created one of your EC2 instance over in a particular availability zone in this particular VPC of this region 1, and another availability zone of the same region. So they will be easily communicated because they are in the part of the same network infrastructure. Similar is the case of region 2. And you can also, between the regions, you can also distribute your resources. And you can communicate between those resources as well. That is possible. Okay. Any questions? Now, coming to AWS Elastic Beanstalk, how many developers are there in this group? I mean, in this session? Are there any application developers or web developers? No, right? Oh, okay. Even if you are there, maybe you are not speaking out, but you see,
I think two people raised their hand, Akshat and Ernest.
okay, Ernest. So, Ernest, I know. What about Akshat? Do you have any question of why you should be using AWS Elastic Beanstalk? Let's say you have been given a situation where you are migrating your applications from your on-premise or from your data center over to the cloud. What will you need to do? Isn't it too much of an ask on you to deploy all your applications with the environment that the main hurdle is your environment on which your application is ported? You are transporting to a different platform over the cloud. So you have to configure, you have to build the entire infrastructure over the cloud, which is in sync with the current infrastructure that you are using in your legacy application or your current application. And then you have to migrate the one from one platform to the cloud. And that takes a whole lot of effort. And you will do lots of, there can be, while in the migrating process, the main issue is there is a huge loss of data without your knowledge. When you switch over the traffic from your old legacy system to the cloud, you will see your traffic is not being able to use the same application that used to be when they used in the on-premise or on the data center, because your migration was not uh, foolproof. You have missed out something, mostly the data. What you do in this case, AWS has come up with a solution for the developers, or the companies who want to migrate from their old uh, infrastructure to over to the cloud. So there is the AWS Elastic Beanstalk. This beanstalk is basically a set of a service provided by AWS where you will just have to upload. There is a console available. There is a very user-friendly console available for AWS Beanstalk. Okay, like in an AWS, when you use the AWS console for creating your resources, similarly, you can have an Elastic Beanstalk front end or uh, you know an interface, a graphical user interface for provided by AWS, which is very user friendly. And over that, whenever you will implement, that is, you are going to migrate your applications and the environment configurations, whatever the environment configuration is the most important, you will simply upload that into the Elastic Beanstalk. You do not need to do all this networking and you don't have to provision any infrastructure over the cloud based on what your application needs, what your environment needs. You just have to upload your application and you have to answer few queries from the Elastic Beanstalk front end. Just you have to apply, or just you have to provide those answers. Once your answers are provided, you have completed this form template. Okay, what will, based on the necessity of the environment and it can be a Java code, it can be a .NET, it can be a PHP, it can be Python, whatever sort of application, it can be a Go, very modern application. However, that needs to be migrated. So you see, it will be on this. You just upload it and forget. What will happen? Elastic Beanstalk is having enough intelligence to understand the environment and the configuration, and it will accordingly match up, or whatever it is, it will provision the required resources, whether it will need one EC2 instance server or it will need four, whether it will need auto scaling and elastic load balancer. All this will be provisioned automatically by the Elastic Beanstalk. You don't have to take care of anything. It will match up. It will match against your application and the environment, and it will build. So what happens today? There is 10,000 requests coming to your application. Tomorrow it can be 1 million requests within a within fraction of seconds. It can scale up. So you don't have to worry because you have given all the tasks to Elastic Beanstalk. What will it do? It will scale up such that your 1 million queries per second can be easily handled by your application, whether it needs to implement the elastic load balancer to distribute your traffic within the it can horizontally upscale the EC2 instances according to the requirement. And whenever the load decreases, it will automatically descale, okay, such that you do not block the resources over the cloud, and therefore you do not need to what you know you do not need to worry about for your billing, because if you are not using a resource, you will not be billed. But if you are unnecessarily uh, running those resources which are not required, then you will be billed for that, definitely. But here, Beanstalk will take care of that, automatically scaling up, automatically scaling down. It depends on the traffic and the application requirement. Is that clear? So Elastic Beanstalk is a service for deploying and scaling web applications and services. Okay, web applications and services along with it. Upload your code and Elastic Beanstalk will automatically handle the deployment from capacity provisioning, load balancing, and auto scaling to application health monitoring. So it will also give you a feedback of how your health, how is your application performing over the architecture. Any questions? There is another beautiful service from AWS, which is cloud formation. Now, generally, after this, uh, the next topic that is in our roadmap is the Terraform. Okay, Terraform is a fantastic tool for provisioning all the resources over the cloud. It is a cloud agnostic tool. We will discuss that. But over the cloud, over the AWS, you will have a cloud formation. So cloud formation for you have the cloud formation called CF for AWS. You have Azure Resource Manager for, or you can say Bicep. The concepts are the same. So you learn one cloud architecture or one cloud. You have the knowledge base of one learning one cloud, and you know all of them because the same things apply to all the different. So it will be for Azure. It will be for Azure and for you know Google Cloud Deployment Manager. That is same as a function of CF or an ARM bicep. On the Google Cloud, you have a Google Cloud Deployment Manager, which is on GCP. They function the same. That is, these are cloud provisioning services. This is called service. A service of AWS called CloudFormation is available to speed up cloud provisioning with infrastructure as a code. So IaaC. So it will provide you with, the templates. You just need to fill up the template with the parameters of what you provision. So you will code the infrastructure. Basically, you are coding the infrastructure. So that code or that template, if you are not being able to use the cloud console or the AWS console, if it is AWS console, you will directly use the help of the GUI to create a template and apply that template on the cloud. It will provision the resources, whether it is S3 bucket or EC2 instance or elastic load balancer or maybe EBS or so many other things. Maybe IAM user. Okay. So all the resources that you can think of can be applied through the templates. And if you have the templates from outside the AWS console, you will use the AWS CLI commands programmatically to be able to provision the resources. But so you need to know about AWS CLI on that. But these are not that simple commands to do. Okay. Yeah, this is simple because you are not using any command line interface. So we will learn Terraform. And this is universally accepted because if you are implementing AWS Cloud Formation, you are only restricted over the cloud of AWS. If you are using Bicep, you are restricted on Azure. If you are using Deployment Manager of Google Cloud, then you are restricted over GCP. But whereas if you use Terraform to provision the resources over the cloud, it is cloud agnostic. Cloud agnostic. It is not dependent on whichever clouds. It will have the plugins. We will discuss about when we learn about Terraform. So you will infrastructure, you will apply the template as the code. You will have AIaaC. Then you can produce this resource like Amazon S3. You can use the cloud formation, the template that whatever IaaC you have the template, you put it on the cloud formation service. Can use the via the browser console, or you can use command line tools of APIs. So it is the AWS CLI, either through the console or through the CLI. You can apply it, and those template will help you to provision. Output is you are provisioning some resources over the cloud. Is that portion clear? More or less the idea. What is cloud formation? Any question? And there is another resource called, or a service, better to say a service, is AWS IAM. Now, whenever this is based on the, the security, rule-based access control, RBAC. This is the security policy of any proven and tested software. That means on the cloud, which is a public place, public domain, you need to implement your users with some certain policies. And that is what you do through an AWS IAM service, Identity and Access Management. You will not allow the resources. That is, a thumb rule is whenever you create a user, IAM user, what is the thumb rule? Generally, what is the policy of for any company or for any uh, platform? Is to provide the minimum what? Minimum what? Privilege.
Minimum least privilege, principle of
Least privilege. Principle of least privilege. Very good. Principle of least privilege. Principle of least privilege. That is always, for the security reasons. Then you apply the policies gradually. You apply some policies over it. Basically, you can code the policies over into the user. So you can, let's say a user is a developer. He is a developer. You are not giving any administrative privilege to this particular user. Okay, but this user will be working over the cloud, and let's say the cloud is AWS cloud. Okay, and the user would be using serverless processing, serverless something. So there it needs to use the Lambda function, the Lambda cloud function, okay, of AWS. For that, I need some create function ability to be assigned to this particular user. So this create function, if not given to this Lambda to be able to use this Lambda function, then it will encounter an error saying access denied. So what you do, you are coding that policy into the user, into that IAM. So you will use a statement. Okay, that statement, whatever the version is, let the version be anything. The statement says that it's a statement is an array or collection. It's a collection. Collection is a number of properties you are putting in. It's a sort of, a class or an object. So you are saying create function is the functionality. What is that functionality? What you are doing is the effect is to allow. What do you want to allow? Which actions? you want to give this particular create function privilege to use the function lambda. Okay, of lambda is the key and create function is the value. So you are assigning a create function privilege to use this particular lambda services of AWS to this particular user. And what is the resource? So this user will be assigned with a policy of accessing all the resources which can be affected by this lambda create function. Star means this star means all. So with a simple statement like this, you are able to give a policy to this particular user and you do not need to worry about this. You can graphically do it or you can do it if you are doing through AWS CLI, which is a command line interface. You are doing it programmatically, as I told you. You will be using this sort of a policy. Or else, if you are using AWS console, you will be using IAM access management, that service console, and you can provide that lambda function or the create function utility to this particular user. So basically, who the workforce, users, and workloads with IAM through this particular service. This is a service. Okay. Who can access what is what this service provides. This IAM service will provide. Basically, when you are working in an organization, you will never be allowed to access root user. Root user is the default user for any account. But you will not be allowed to be able to access. Root is the admin user, right? So there can be only one admin or the cloud architect or the cloud admin who will be accessing the root user. But you will be given an IAM. You will be created as an IAM user and you will be accessing an account through this IAM user. Okay, because this is a limited privilege provided to you very naturally. Any question? Core AWS service that helps you control access to resources. Okay, so resources are the entities you create in AWS, like S3 bucket or object, any object. Users attempt to perform actions on these resources, like you are using the S3 bucket. You are being able to, you have a privilege to create a bucket, or do you? Is based on what is the privilege, what is the policy, whether the creating of a S3 bucket is within the policy of that IAM user or not. Authorization to perform an action depends on a policy. So it will always consult your policy. Now, I thought maybe instead of going through, we are towards the end of our AWS session because we will switch over to Terraform. But before that, I will quickly do some hands-on on let's create an EC2 service or let's create an EC2 instance quickly, and we will see how much small time we will need to create one server. Okay, and we can access that server from outside. Let us do that. Okay, so we will switch over to this screen. We are going to our AWS Management Console. Sign in. So what I am signing into? I am signing in not as a root user. I am signing into my account, which is an account created over the cloud, and an alias name has been given. So account basically is a 12-digit number. Okay, but generally I will not remember the number, so I have given an alias. So a name is more important for me to remember. And the IAM user. So I am using an IAM user, okay? And I'm not using any root, and I'm signing in. So basically, this IAM user has been given some policies, some privileges, it has been granted with some access permissions, policies. So I have to be within that framework. Okay. So I'm getting this. This is the my all the services. All the services are available to mm, on this AWS console. But I will now go to EC2 service. This is a service as in the first day of AWS. On the previous session, we have discussed about the various services through a diagram, right? So I will go. I have logged into a particular region. I have gone to a particular. I can easily change over from. I'm now right now in a Singapore region, and the Singapore region is AP Southeast 1. AP is Asia Pacific. You could be going to, it's not necessary that you would be only restricted if you are in India and you say that I can only use my India data centers like Mumbai. Okay, it is not that. You can switch over and work in any, but so there is no restriction. So this entire world is a global village. You are a, a member of that village. Okay, so let's say I'm in Singapore, AP Southeast 1, and definitely that Singapore region, this Singapore region will have, there are availability zones. Okay, and each availability zone will have one, what? What is that? Default?
VPC.
So, no, the region will have a default VPC. My region is Asia Pacific, Singapore. So that will have a default VPC. But under the VPC, we have the availability zones. And under the availability zones, you know, I have they have created, because Singapore is not a big region. So three data centers or availability zones is quite enough. And they have given AP Southeast 1A, 1B, 1C. You can enable additional zones. If you want, you can create your zones. That is also a big facility. Okay. If you have lots of users, lots of resources, and you want to distribute those resources over additional data centers, each data center will be represented through, or you will reach this data center through what? Your subnet. So there will be one subnet in this availability zone 1A, one subnet in 1B, and one default subnet in 1C. Is that clear? Now, where I'm going to create my resource, is it over the region? Yes, definitely on the region, but in particularly into one availability zone, isn't it? I have to create a resource in a particular data center, and that is the data center we are going to see. So having said that, we are going to go to the EC2 dashboard. And we can go to the instances. Right now, I have no instances created in our Singapore region. What I can do, quickly launch an instance. You can see there is this button. So you go quickly launch an instance. I'm not going to the details of that. That is a scope. I'm limited with that scope. But that is definitely, I go in lots of details in my main courses. So let us create this particular, I'm giving it a name. Let's say internship, or better to say DevOps EC2. Any name is up to you. Then any server will have to have one operating system, right? So we can do quickly within the quick start, you can select any of the servers or any of the OSs. So I will go for Ubuntu. That is the OS, the image, and that is called the AMI, Amazon Machine Image. We have discussed about this machine image. It is the entire operating system is packaged as an image and available within the AWS repository or registry. It is like it's sort of a Docker image. And in fact, it is a Docker image. Okay. So the entire application of an operating system called Ubuntu is packed within, and the version is 24.04 LTS, long-term support. And this is free trial eligible. Anyway, that is out of my discussion. So I have selected this particular operating system. And so this is so any resource that you use on an AWS or any cloud will have a resource ID, a unique ID is there. Now I will select the instance type. What are the 5 things that are needed to define your EC2 instance? Can anybody help me? What are the 5 things that are needed to create a server? Mandatory parameters. One is,
Maybe what is the storage that you need?
okay, I will come to that. So the first one is the operating system, the AMI.
Yes.
Without an operating system, I cannot create one server. I can create a server, but that is only a dumb box. I need an operating system. Like if I go for a laptop, I need at least a Windows or a Mac to be there to start the operational part of it. What is the next one? So I'm building a server, right? So I'm building a server. So I have put in the OS. What is other things that are needed? I have to define the size of the server. That is whether it will be 1 CPU or 2 CPU or 5 CPU or 16 CPU. What will be the internal memory? What is the number of what is the GB internal memory? So all this. So that will be called instance type. The size, or basically you can say the make of the server. What is the third one? The third one is, the authentication, the security part, the authentication. I don't know why my pen is not that working good, but anyway, I have to manage. Authentication and authorization. This is the security part for the access. So for authentication, what we need to have? Anyone? I will attach a key pair, a token. Key pair is nothing but a token, a security token, access token for authentication. And for authorization, I will need to attach a security group or a firewall. Like just before my class in the cybersecurity, you were listening to a lot of things like UFW, which is a firewall. Firewall is like you are building a house, okay, and then you are fencing it. That fencing is called a firewall, so that no trespassers can trespass into your house. So you are setting up some rules, right? You are setting up some rules. So those rules will prevent any traffic. Without obeying this rule, it is not possible to get inside your server. This is your server. You are protecting this server with this. First level is the key pair authentication. Second level is the authorization with the security group. And the last one, tell me. These are the mandatory things that you need. And the last one should be your subnet. That is, in which availability zone or which data center you are going to create this resource, right? So you have your OS, you have your the make, the model, you have the key pair, you have the rules for authorization, and now you have the networking part. Now you will say, how do I go to subnet without a VPC? Very good question. So your VPC is hidden within the security group. You cannot create a security group without a VPC. So when you create or select a security group, that means your VPC is already designed or designated. Okay. So you are creating this in the region Singapore. So whenever you are assigning this security group, that means you are assigning the default VPC of Singapore with that security group. So if that is there, so therefore the one thing is left is the subnet. So you will assign the subnet. Any question? Oh, I should have. Okay. I will just make it off. Now, so instance type, that is one mandatory parameter. I have said that I will use a very small machine, micro machine, a one vCPU and 1 GB of memory. That is more than enough for me right at this stage. Because see, even if it is a very small, but it's a very powerful machine. Even if it is a very small machine. Even that, because on a Ubuntu Linux, one CPU, 1 GB memory is also a good machine. But you can select higher models as well. Then the key pair, the authentication. I can create a new key pair. I will create a key pair. I will give it a name. I will give it a name as internship. Simple name of the key pair. I am using an encryption key logic of RSA, and I am giving it a PPK because I am using a Windows machine and I don't want to convert the PEM, because generally in my original the long-term classes, I generally go through PEM because PEM is the most popular format. Okay, but I am, for the time being, as a shortcut, I am downloading the PPK. This, when I say create key pair, this is to be used with putty. When I say create key pair, it will create a key pair and download it to my Windows downloads folder. That is what I need to handshake with my server. So you can see that internship.ppk, this file has been downloaded. If you go there, you will see internship.ppk. This is this key I will be using when I will be connecting my laptop, my Windows, to the EC2 instance on the cloud. Okay. And I've come back to my console. So my key pair has been attached. So this server knows or has a key pair attached to it, this server. And then the VPC is by their default, and the subnet, I do not want to specify. I can edit and specify which particular subnet I want, whether I want it AP Southeast 1A, AP Southeast 1B, or AP Southeast 1C, one of the data centers. But I leave it on AWS to select it for me. And then the public IP will be automatically assigned, enabled, randomly generated. I will now the fourth part, which is the firewall security group. I will select a security group. Already I have created one. I will just attach it. So I will select one security group. Say, I will say Launch Wizard 3. These are nothing but a set of rules. Those rules, like you are connecting through SSH, you are connecting to the SSH. So you are allowing your network connection. So your Windows or laptop is connecting to this server EC2 over SSH. Can anybody tell me what is the port? SSH is a
22.
protocol. Sorry,
22.
22. Very good. So we see that that SSH service is running on a listening on a port on the server. The port number is 22. That service is SSHD as a daemon. It is running as we create the server. Okay. And we have to use an SSH connection, and we will use that key. Which key? That internship .ppk. We will use that key to handshake with that internship key, which is already installed over here in the EC2 instance. When they match, the encryption matches, then there will be a handshaking. You will handshake. That means you are allowed to get inside this particular, that we are going to see. But right now, and also I have given a rule. So if I do not set this rule into my security group, even though there is the internship PPK, I will not be allowed, because the first level will pass because you have the matching authentication, but the second level, which is authorization, will fail. So it will fail to connect. Okay. So I have at least one rule saying within the security group saying that if there is any traffic coming as with a SSH connection, let it be allowed. Therefore, it will go. And as somebody was saying about the EBS, elastic block storage, yes, you have to give at least some storage. And I'm using a config minimum storage of 8 GB and GP3. GP3 is the SSD, general purpose SSD. SSD is solid state device, which is an optical hard drive, you can say. So basically, I'm attaching a storage with that. And a number of instances, yes, you can review the summary. Everything is fine. I will quickly go and launch the instance because I think our time is also getting up. Fine. See, how much time did it take? It took not even 30 seconds. Can you imagine earlier days, it used to take 7 days, 15 days, even a month to get a big machine installed. And here you have done a big machine installed within no time. That is the beauty. So you go back to your instances and see that there is your instance is running. Your instance is by the name DevOps EC2. Your instance is having that instance ID. Your instance state is running. The instance type is T2 micro. Okay. You have created, I mean, I have not selected this, but this was selected automatically from AWS. AWS has given me this one. So I have created on the AP Southeast 1A. And this is the public DNS because a public IP address has been generated. See, this is not going to change, but this is going to change after each and every shutdown and startup. Randomly a public IP for the security reason, because from outside you are going to attach or to connect to your EC2 instance over the IP address, public IP address. I will show you that. So DNS name is about that public IP v4 DNS. You see, you have used a security group called Launch Wizard 3, and you have used the key name as internship. Fine. I have created my server. So what I will do, I will copy this because it is running, but I need to access this. How will I? I will use my putty. I have copied this IP address. I will go to my putty. Putty is a software. So I will do one thing. I will go over here, or I can create one session. Say, let's say DevOps. Okay, internship. Let me say that this is the session, and I will give the host name, the IP address. The port should be 22 because it is going to connect over SSH. I will save the session. So DevOps internship is my session. Okay, but it is not yet over. I have to, let's say, I can change my window title. I'm saying my window title is test EC2, whatever it is, or just simply EC2. And I don't want to change the colors and everything. I could do that. But here in the connection, I will go and say I want to keep alive. So I will send a heartbeat within every 5 seconds. I will send a heartbeat saying my terminal or my session should be kept alive. I am alive. It is screaming. Data, auto login. I want to auto login with a username Ubuntu. Ubuntu is the username of this Ubuntu server. And then I will go to SSH and I will go to authentication, and I will go to the credentials. I will give the private key file for authentication. I have kept it in my, where? Where is my file? File is in my downloads folder. Remember, we have downloaded or created this internship.ppk. I select this. I will open this. So this is, I have mentioned that this is the key file. And I will say open it. No, not open. I will save the session. I will save the session and then I will open it. And you see, it is asking me to accept. The handshaking has been done. I can make it a bit bigger. Can you see? I have logged in. And if you say host name CTL, what is the host name? 172.31.31.70. Can you check? It is 172.31.31.70. You see, this is the private IP address. This is not going to change. This is the actual IP address of your server. This is matching 172.31.31.70, 172.31.31.70, and it is an Ubuntu machine 24.04 LTS. All this information is available to me. That means I have successfully connected to my EC2 instance. I can use LL and I can show you if I go to .ssh. Okay, and if you see there is an authorized key, I will go to authorized keys. These are Linux commands, and you will see the internship. This is the encrypted key. This is the encrypted key, and the encryption is following the SSH RSA logic, and the name of the key is internship. So it matched from outside. You see, and also you can see that. Are you being able to see the screen? Because I find that my network
Yes,
is
visible.
it is still visible. Okay, very good. Because I am getting a message that my network quality is poor. Anyway, Okay, you can anytime change the settings. You can go there and you can say appearance. You will say it is too small. I'm saying 16 and bold and okay. I will apply. Can you see now it has a bit bigger in size? So sudo systemctl status of SSH. Can you see that your SSH is active and running? And this is running on port. Which port? Somebody told me it is 22 because SSH works on 22. And therefore, your putty, through your putty, you were able to actually, what command did you give? Actually, the command that you have given, if you are using git bash on your terminal, or if your Mac terminal, you will say a command like ssh -i. What was the name of the key? You will say internship dot. Here you cannot use ppk. You have to use pem. Anyway, that is fine. SSH, and then you say Ubuntu at the rate of your. Will you give a public IP address or private IP address? You will always give the public IP address. So you will give this particular public IP address. So this is the internal command. If you know the SSH command, this is the command that is going to help you to go and connect to your EC2 instance. Okay. Do you have any questions? So since I do not have enough time to start Terraform, I thought I could start Terraform today, but it's okay. It's all in our hands. So it doesn't matter. But I did not wanted to interrupt into that very interesting discussion that was happening in cybersecurity. So that was very, very useful and you should get benefited out of that. So I didn't disturb it. Doesn't matter. It is in our hands. If it is instead of 8 sessions, I need 9 sessions or 10 sessions, we will do that. Don't worry. So we will stop the session over here.